Well, now we're going to move on to the second half of this blockbuster couple of keynote conversations we've got for you. I mentioned two giants of their respective industries, and now we have someone truly remarkable, because while many of us over the last 18 months were fixating on what we couldn't as individuals or organizations achieve, his company was just going about doing stuff and doing a lot of stuff, whether it be one championship event after event, keeping that heart beating down in Kallang here in Singapore, whether it be one esports events, whether it be enjoying landmarks and milestones and celebrating them, whether it be setting incredible new numbers for viewership and engagement, whether it be along the way just casually empowering women. This is the kind of prolific output that we've come to expect from our next speaker, our next guest here, and he is the founder, chairman, CEO, and Group One Holdings. He is Chatri Sityodtong, and he is no stranger to any of you. Good to have you here, man. Good to have you with us. Well, that was fantastic. So I've just laid out a few things that you guys have been getting up to, and you know, we hear you so often, you come and you speak in such an inspirational sense, but the thing about you is that you do as well, and you do so much. Just tell me what over the last 18 months of your achievements, of your landmarks, has meant the most to you.
Well, I tell this to my team, you know, obviously the last 18 months have been some of the toughest months in the history of the company. When the pandemic first hit at end of March of last year, you know, the country was shut down. It meant our events were shut down. It means the company literally came to a standstill. And I remember being really upset and for a couple of days, you know, I was kind of down in the dumps. And then I just woke up on the third day and I'm like, actually, this global crisis is the greatest opportunity for myself and my team to shine. And so I held a company meeting that day and I said, guys, everybody, guys and girls, everybody, we can take this crisis and look at how much damage it's going to do to the business, or we can take it and use it to achieve even greater things. And so we shifted everything into digital and mobile and social, which we're already very strong in. Yeah. And to say that my team did it with grit and resilience and creativity, we hit record high numbers on viewership numbers on digital, social, and TV, linear, for 2020, despite being down for 3 months, only operating 9 months. We broke our record of 2019, and then 2021, we broke our record from 2020. So a huge shout out to my team.
What was amazing as well, Chatri, was that, you know, as an entity that had existed, you know, in a regional realm, suddenly you were Singapore facing, and you managed to deliver a property. And what struck me was, even in those, you know, days when there seemed there was nothing happening, my phone was always buzzing on a Friday with Dom Lau's voice echoing away, which is a scary thought, to be honest with you, telling me that there was another One Championship event on. So how important was it that you continued just doing events, just doing what you do, whether it was in front of an audience or not?
So the first 3 months when the pandemic hit, we weren't able to throw any events. And again, so we thought of all creative ways to have live content with our stars, contests, and mini documentaries and talk shows, and really trying to change our format. We were able to throw our esports events though online, and so we pivoted there. But afterwards, like again, another big debt of gratitude to the Singapore government. They chose or entrusted One, you know, with the live events coming back as a pioneer, not just in Singapore but across Asia. We were the only international scale event to come back 3 months in the middle of the pandemic. And we're able to do it with our own protocols. We invented or created the COVID protocols that many MICE events now across Singapore but across Asia are replicating. And that was a huge thing for us. So being able to throw live events, of course, was massive. But again, the whole mindset was to be digital first, mobile first. And that really, I mean, we were lucky to be born in that era, so we had a lot of strength. But just to give perspective, 5 years ago, our organic video views for the whole year was 50 million. This year, well, actually last month, we crossed 3 billion. So we're on a run rate now of 36 billion organic video views, which puts us, you know, top 2, top 3 in the world.
Yeah, incredible. When you talk about pivoting, it's something that we throw out there these days, and we go, oh yeah, we've had to change emphasis, we've had to pivot. It's not as easy as that. There has to be a buy-in from everybody, from the people that you said, the team that has worked so hard, from the third-party stakeholders that you've worked with so well. What was the hardest part of getting that buy-in, of convincing people that you could do this?
You know, like I said, I'm blessed to serve the greatest team on the planet. So once I gave my speech to the company, we rallied and we motivated and we got things going. I think a lot of external partners were also rallying. Again, like the Singapore government, we definitely could not have done it without the Singapore government. And again, you know, in a time of crisis, it really does show your true colors as an individual, as a team, and even partners, right? So it's kind of like the whole thing about even friendship, right? You don't want fair weather friends. You want friends who are there through good, bad, and ugly. And so we're very, very grateful.
So it's a stress test in so many ways. You know, as Jasper said at the very beginning, I think, you know, it would be easy to sit here and talk about how tough things have been, but this is very much about, you know, sport being back, about plotting the way forward. Tell us from your organization's perspective, what's next? What are you building now?
I mean, because we've really hit record highs in terms, so our viewership numbers are up triple-digit percentages over last year already, so around 300, 400%. And our numbers keep on climbing to these astronomical levels where I never, again, if you told me 5 years ago you're going to go from 50 million to 36 billion run rate, I would never have believed it. But again, it's all about the mindset of the fan at the end of the day. You have to create incredible content, especially in those first 3 seconds of any video on mobile, otherwise people are just going to scroll past. And that's the whole key, is how do you engage the fan with evergreen content perpetually. Of course, live events definitely helps, but you have to go above and beyond that.
You know, when you talk about content, I think one of the things that struck me was tonality, and you struck a tone with your One Empower event, which was the first one you'd had with an all-female card. But it's not, you know, a one-off. It was a fantastic event. Now you're building towards the World Grand Prix, the atom weight, and you know the winner then gets to take on Angela Lee, the legendary Singaporean champion, for the belt. Tell me the thinking behind about that and the execution of that.
So One Empower is the first all-female card, or was a couple months ago, in the history of martial arts on a global scale. And the idea, you know, is my team and I, when we look at our roles in life or the opportunity we have, we realize our voice in the world is getting louder and louder, bigger and bigger. And we are always very thoughtful about what do we want our voice to be. And I always tell my team, like, we have the opportunity to shape culture, society, daily life through our heroes, our values, our stories. We directly impact how little boys treat little girls, how women treat each other, how men treat women, by the examples that we set with our heroes. And so putting on a very powerful card of all female athletes, the greatest martial artists on the planet. Obviously, Angela Lee is the greatest female mixed martial artist on the planet. And having that story, that narrative of the 8 best females from around the world vying to meet Angela Lee for the World Championship, we just thought it was a very, very powerful message to send. And again, one of my proudest moments was when Angela won the world title initially when she was 19 years old, making her the youngest world champion in history. I raised her pay to amongst the top in the entire roster of 500 athletes, male and female. And I got a lot of hate mail all over Asia, actually, about how can you pay a woman the same as a man and all this stuff. And I thought that was a very important moment for the history of the company. This is, I think, 5 years ago, in terms of how do we want to express our values, who are the heroes that we want to shine on our platform, and how do we want to change the world. And this is something my team and I think very, very deeply about.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. Is there anything that you've heard from somebody within the event, within One Empower or outside, that struck a note with you, you know, in terms of what it meant to them?
Yes, I mean, you know, one of our female athletes, she's the top martial artist out of India, Ritu Phogat. And Ritu has, I don't know, 1.5 million followers or something like that on social. And after she won her semifinal match, there's a huge outpouring all over the world of females and little girls saying what an inspiration she is, you know, and thank you for being such a strong, independent, intelligent woman, for representing us the best way. And quite frankly, having little girls, teenage girls saying, you know, now I want to be the best doctor, or I want to be the best engineer, or I want to be the best VP, or whatever your dream is. And it's not about being a fighter. You see, our fighters are heroes who transcend the sport of martial arts. It's about humanity. It really is about, you know, unleashing greatness, helping people unleash greatness.
Yeah, and she's got the game as well. I mean, she set up that fight with Stamp Fairtex, of course, so, you know, really high quality game there. You do so many things, you know, and I asked you about like where next and all that. I'm always looking at you guys and thinking, okay, the US market, I'm thinking about NFTs, what have you. What's on the page?
So, you know, we've built this massive global platform that is now in 154 countries, top 10 in the world in terms of viewership and engagement for all sports properties according to Nielsen. And it's all about now leveraging this platform. So our NFTs launch December 5th, so in a couple weeks. And we have video games coming out. We have, you know, there's a whole plethora of exciting stuff for our fans, and obviously revenue driving. But now that we've built this platform, again, we have a voice. It's all about now, you know, how do we want to engage the fan further? Actually, Peter at Meta, you know, one of the things he probably knows is we were the very first sports property to join Oculus. And so all of our events for the last couple of years, maybe 3 years, I think, it's been, or 2.5 years, have been in you know, VR. And so you wear the Oculus glasses, and you're literally in the stadium and right in the cage in the middle of the action, and you can look 360 and as if you're literally in the stadium. Sound, light, everything. And it's not computer graphics, it's the actual show. So what we do is we shoot the whole thing in 3D and then put it on the Oculus platform. And Facebook has been a tremendous partner, or Meta has been a tremendous partner.
Well, the beautiful thing about this one, Chatri, you know, I got into that with Peter a little bit earlier on, is that when we do what we do, we're always about chasing, you know, how we can arrive at what is best for the consumer, what is best for the audience, for the sports fan, the fight fan, whatever it might be. You've taken us inside the metaverse already, so let's go a little bit further. You know, you're nothing if not visionary. Where can it go? What can it become in terms of interaction, maybe?
Right, so I really believe when you fast forward sports, I don't know if it's 3 years or if it's 5 years or 7 years, but I really believe that we're going to be in a place where you're in the living room at home. You're not going to be watching TV. You're going to push a button, and your whole living room becomes the stadium. And it's as if you are there, literally cage side or VIP side. And obviously there are different pricing tiers. You can be in the nosebleeds and pay on a pay-per-view basis. But you're literally live there as if. And so the metaverse is really going to be all-encompassing. It's not going to be about you know, using a device. It eventually is going to be the way of our life. And so when you're virtual, you can buy a t-shirt. You can go to our kiosk virtually and buy the t-shirt, watch Angela right in front of you, and there's nobody, you know, interfering with your experience. And yet, the lights, the sounds, and the fan experience, obviously turning the volume up in your house, you will feel as if you're in the stadium. So these are the kinds of things that we are working on at One, and so that we're able to deliver truly the greatest fan experience, no matter where you are in the world. And again, right now, obviously, the stadium is the best experience. And linear TV is pretty good, but there's so much more we can do.
I'm going to bring Peter back in just a moment, and I'm sure he'll have something to share about that as well. But just before we wrap up this one-on-one part of this one, Chatri, you know, there's a sense of and a mood of optimism about, you know, looking forward here today, broadly speaking, whether within your remit with One or even beyond that. How do you see Asia? Sports matters to Asia is where we are at today. Is that a statement you're confident and comfortable with?
1,000%. There's massive, I can't even tell you, a massive opportunity in sports and entertainment in Asia like never before. And why do I say that? Okay, if you look at the global economy and the evolution of North America and Europe and et cetera, they went through their industrialization phase first. And after you've developed all the hotels and buildings and roads and factories, you then go as an economy into the IP phase. Software, Silicon Valley, Wall Street, med tech, et cetera, et cetera. Asia is at the tail end of industrialization, especially Southeast Asia. There is, yes, still more factories to be built and roads and whatnot, but we're now entering the IP phase where you're going to see, and you are starting to see the last, you know, call it 3-5 years, you see the rise of Grab, the rise of Razor, the rise of the rise of, you know, fintech, these are all IP-based businesses. And so there's never been a greater time, greater opportunity in my mind. And if you look, you know, the content shift, okay? When I grew up, all sports and entertainment came from America. Hollywood or EPL or NFL, NBA, on all the TV sets, and that's all, and newspapers and whatnot. Today, Squid Game is going out to the whole world. BTS, you know, Blackpink, and Korean soap operas. So you're starting to see a real shift in content creation, but also appetite. There are like Brazilians and Spanish fans of K-pop and K-drama that you would never have believed, but they're obsessed. And so I think this is an incredible time for Asia as the entire economy goes from industrialization into IP phase, and as the world views Asian-based content as world-class now, and there's so many incredible stories to tell, so many heroes to unleash, and values to celebrate.
And in the back end, of course, the obvious conclusion is with Asia leading the way in so many of these things as well. Chatri, thanks very much for that. We're going to get into Q&A in just a moment, but you know, we could have done this longer, and you could have been amazing longer, but I think we're going to wrap this part of this Q&A up for now. So let's just hear it for Chatri Sityodtong, everyone. Thank you. So let's go physical and virtual right now. Let's see if Peter's still with us. Peter, have we got you back? Let's see if we can get Peter Hutton back in with us in just a moment's time, because I'm going to get his take. There you are. Peter, are you with us? Have we got sound?
You know,
yep, still here.
I was
Peter.
saying that we use Chatri as the role model all the time. For us, he's not an Asian story, it's a worldwide story, because the numbers are so huge, and the way that One Championship has grown is a case study for us that we spread all over the world. The fact that they lean into so many of the different products, and particularly I'll call out the Angela Lee example, because we're always saying your best ambassadors are your athletes, your heroes, and they use Angela Lee in such a great way. And that's what we're saying to sports organizations around the world. Use your best assets, use your sports heroes, and put the content out authentically in their voices. So One Championship for us is a great model, and I've been very happy to tell the stories of One Championship wherever I go.
Yeah.
Good to see you again, Peter, and thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. This partnership's amazing.
Guys, let's just quickly do something over 5 minutes. I think it'll affect and impact and hopefully inform absolutely everyone in the room, everybody watching. We just wanted to, you know, get some quick answers from you guys on things that have come out of the last 18 months and things that we can take forward. First thing I had in mind was, you know, given recent volatility, as people who lead, who manage, who strategize, how have you changed the way you make decisions in terms of the time frame you allow yourself and the ability you have to completely change your thinking?
Well, I think, you know, every organization has to have two speeds. One is obviously long-term vision and strategic planning and having the right strategy in place. The execution plan has to be very flexible, especially in these times, right? Especially as a live sports broadcast product. You know, I had no idea, you know, 18 months ago that all of our events would shift into Singapore Indoor Stadium, and that we used to travel all over the world, like, you know, and we would have events as far as Dubai, but Tokyo, Shanghai, Beijing, etc., and lighting up all those different economies. And now we have to do it from a single location in Singapore with an empty stadium. So again, the long-term vision of you know, Asia's largest global sports property, of, you know, exciting and delighting all of our fans around the world. And as Peter said, we're not an Asian property, we're truly a global property, and we have a global fan base. You know, that never changes. But how we execute, you know, you have to adapt, you have to be very flexible.
Yeah, Peter, I mean, if you want to share something on that one, have you completely rethought the way that you do that, the way that you plan decision, you know, making?
Yeah, I think, you know, as Chatri said, it's important to have that vision. It's important to have like a long-term direction that you're aiming towards. But I think we're getting more and more data-driven and less instinctive, and checking what we believe is the right direction with the reality of how people are consuming, because that changes every day and it changes in every market, and it's not all at the same speed. So I think, you know, we've used the 18 months to be far more data-driven and far more focused in terms of, are we really going the right route here? Are we taking people on the right journey? Because I see our group, and I know Joey and Cheryl and Sananda and Isa and Abhinav are all there in the audience. I see our group really as consultants about the direction of travel for the industry. So really important that we read that data and analyze it properly.
Yeah, and just quickly mentioning that team that you've got here, a big shout out for the hashtag ShePlays meta event coming up on December the 7th, which will feature leaders and women involved in sport from across the APAC region, a 90-minute fireside chat and panel discussions. Chatri, you're behind this as well, right, with Angela as well. Huge event, so congratulations, Peter, on that one. Peter, I think I'm going to let you go just now, because just looking at my clock and figuring out how, as a TV presenter, you work these numbers out and times, I think Chatri's going to take us home probably with the last thing that we're going to do here. So, Peter, just stick around for the thanks again in a moment. Chatri, last thing for you here. What excites you the most right now? What do you think is the thing that excites you most about your business, about the business right now?
So I think there are many themes, but one of the biggest themes for me is digitalization of the world economy. So never in history has it been easier than a brand new company to become truly global. And a great case study is one, as Peter said, is we throw out content and it goes viral all over the world. Yeah. So as a brand new young company, to have a global fan base because of the digitalization of the world economy, but because of what Peter's saying, also being data-driven, suddenly you're able to not only have global fans all over the world, you're able to know who they are, what their habits are, and then hence the monetization is far easier. So never before have you ever had young companies, irrespective of location, geography, truly, they can be in Israel, they can be in Singapore, they can be in Tokyo, they can be in Silicon Valley, but their consumer base is truly global. And we see so many examples of that today, young companies, and I think it's actually scary now to be an incumbent player in any given industry, because the young upstarts truly, if they build a fantastic product, truly has a global customer base.
Chatri, brilliant. 5 seconds to go. So many takeaways for everybody. Peter, let's get you back up, and please, everybody, another thank you for Chatri Sityodtong and Peter Hutton. Thanks, guys.